Bigspin podcast, Fingerboard podcast, mini podcast for Fingerboard Con 3. I am FB.Christopher. I am here with Mikey. This is the homie from Hardly Golden Goods.
Nailed it.
You got that? You like that?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, buddy.
Hell yeah. Thank you for being a part of this. I know my watch is dead, so I can't tell you the time. It's late.
It's a time.
It's
definitely a time.
It's a time. Tell me about where you're from, how long you've been fingerboarding.
Yeah, I'm from Anchorage, Alaska.
Really?
But I'm based out of Austin, Texas now. But yeah, grew up in Alaska for 28 years.
That's wild.
Started fingerboarding in 5th grade. A girl brought in a 6-pack of Dark Star fingerboards.
No shit.
Split them open. I got one of them somehow, and that became my life for quite some time. To get into it, like 6th grade, brought it every single day. We had to take band and orchestra. Did you have to take band and orchestra?
No, not at all. I did choir.
We had to take band.
Yeah, I was a choir guy.
You're an alto, aren't you?
You like that? Tenor.
Yeah.
Tenor too.
We had to take band and orchestra. I wanted to play percussion because that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But I was too nervous to audition in front of the whole class.
Okay.
And so I bribed my teacher. I was like, "Can I just stay in and do study hall, and then while the other kids do band and orchestra?"
Yeah.
And he was cool with it. He went out. He'd smoke cigarettes on the playground.
That's wild.
And I'd just fingerboard in the class, and that just became an all-day thing.
Yeah.
I failed 6th grade.
There you go.
They punched me through to 7th grade. I failed 7th and 8th grade. I just fingerboarded all day.
Damn.
They keep punching me through. I went to high school. I flunked out of high school because I was just fingerboarding all day. I started picking up a couple sponsors.
That's crazy.
On the old FFI.
There you go, man.
Shout out to FFI. Got me some sponsors back in the day.
God damn.
I remember borrowing a camcorder from my mom, taking some stills, not even recording clips, just taking stills and sending those to sponsors.
Yeah. On your fingerboard.
Yeah.
God damn.
Like just kick flipping double sets and stuff and snapping pictures of it.
That's actually crazy. It's kind of groundbreaking. Sending the sponsor tapes.
Sending stills.
Dang. Well, listen, before we get too deep though into the brand, let's talk about why we're here this weekend.
Yeah.
Fingerboard Con 3, how has your experience been this year? And would you recommend it for others to come next year?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, FingerCon was pretty sick. It was my second time out at VOOS. And so that was the whole thing. But to hone in on the Fingerboard Con, I really enjoyed it. I made a ton of connections. It's all about those moments of you're that guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone
when you just
says
recognize
that.
everyone's fingers.
Yeah.
It's weird,
yeah, but
just it happens.
We've talked about it a whole lot this weekend, but the parasocial relationships and taking those into the real life, that's what this weekend's all about. It's just making those connections, shaking those hands.
Hell yeah.
And for me, it was totally worth it.
I love it. When you transitioned from Alaska, you said, down to Austin, is that when the brand started though?
Yeah, so I had laps like many other fingerboarders, and when I arrived to Austin, I was like, maybe there's a scene here I could just jump into, and unfortunately there really wasn't. I searched around a little bit, and the closest I found was the guys down in San Antonio. I came across TC Jeans stuff.
Dude, shout out TC.
Yeah, shout out to John. And so I started going down there with them, and I recognized that there was nothing in the Austin area. And so I started kind of scheming as to what we could do to sort of tie some of the communities together out there. And started off with just a fingerboard account, just a personal account that I eventually transitioned into the brand. And to say a little bit more about that, the brand was actually brought along because I was helping out at Tiny Skate Shop out in New York City. The homie Bobby, he's a good friend of mine, and I wanted to have a brand where I could do house boards for them and stuff, just so and it didn't end up working out like that. It just kind of became its own thing, and now it's kind of more based out of Texas than New York, but yeah, that's kind of how it came to be.
I love it. Give us a brief overview of the name. Where's the name come from? Where's the inspiration come from?
Yeah. So it actually was I'm a leather worker. I make wallets and belts and things like that.
That's fine.
And so my Etsy shop's been called Hardly Golden Goods for a while.
Okay.
And so just to confuse my online presence, I have that up.
Wow.
But then also if you go on Instagram, if anyone buys a wallet from me and then looks me up online, they're going to be like, what is this? Because it's all fingerboard stuff. But the name actually comes from a Band of Horses song.
Really?
It comes from The Funeral by Band of Horses. I've never talked about this, actually. No one knows this. So if you're watching this, now you know it.
Exclusive.
And the day that I dropped the brand, the day I transitioned the Instagram over to the brand and released my first decks, I was at a Band of Horses concert. I'd never seen them before, but they were in Austin or they were in Texas, and I drove out to them and press publish when I was watching
Damn.
them, and I was like, it's cool. And
That's
I'm
meant to be.
yeah, I'm not like a crazy big fan of theirs, but there was a lyric in the funeral. Go look up the lyrics, and it stuck with me, and it just meant something to me, and I figured I could make it mean something to other people as well.
That's fucking wild. That it's just like at the show.
Yeah.
Saving the name.
And to me, it just kind of speaks to like we're not perfect. It's not flushed out. It's not fully golden. We're hardly golden. Like we're working there. We're working on ourselves, but we're not golden yet.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Thank you for saying that. I'm working on it. How has the community response been to the brand so far? Have there been any surprise standout moments in the life of the brand thus far?
First day at Fingerboard Con, I walked downstairs. I spent 8 hours designing a T-shirt for the brand,
Right.
and I've sold one of them.
No. Was that the one you were wearing?
Yeah,
Dude, the vintage one? It's fire. I don't know why it's not selling.
This is the reality of it, though. Like, I don't know, people probably don't talk numbers a lot, but sometimes you put a lot of work into something, and it just doesn't work for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I put a lot of work into that, and I sold one of those T-shirts.
Just one?
But
Breaks my heart for you.
this on Saturday morning, coming downstairs on the elevator,
Yeah.
I ran into that one T-shirt. The first kid I ran into
Really?
pulls up his sweater, shows me he's wearing that T-shirt. He was the one guy that bought that T-shirt.
That's a full circle moment.
And it's like, that's why you do it, though. You know, you put the 8 hours in designing that T-shirt for that one kid.
I love
And he
it.
was stoked, man.
Damn.
And he bought 2 decks from me. It was like, you know.
It's how it's
but
done.
That's the thing that doesn't matter. But what matters is, like, you put in the work because you want to see it in real life, you know?
Hell yeah.
And that, yeah, so.
Hell yeah. There you go. Off. Oh, no.
Oh, God.
It's getting crazy. The fingerboard hooligan off cam is getting crazy.
Yeah.
What sets your brand apart from others in the scene? Is there anything specific that makes you proud, more specifically of what you're specifically creating for the fingerboard community?
Yeah. The reason I wanted to even get into making decks was oh my gosh, can you guys hear the blitz
Dude,
going on in the back?
The blitz is crazy.
They don't know about the blitz.
They don't know about the blitz. It's in the new vlog, though.
Someday you guys will learn about the blitz. Sorry, back to your question. Something that
What sets you apart? Yeah,
I looked around at a lot of companies, and there were some companies that I really rocked with the stuff that they were doing.
Yeah.
Like companies like Goo, I really liked their graphics. But there were a lot of companies out there that I was like, I looked at the shops and I was like, there's nothing really that I want to ride, and I wanted to make graphics that I wanted to ride. That's not to say that those graphics are bad, but they're for other people to ride. I wanted to make the ones that I wanted to ride.
Hell yeah.
And so I'm sure everyone says that, but there's a lot of people out there like me, hopefully, that also want to ride these graphics. So
hell yeah.
Originally, the thought process was like I would think of a theme for each of the drops. So the first one was like Western. It was Texas, you know. So I went and looked at thousands of old Western books to draw inspiration for those. And so I just wanted to build it around those sort of things and make decks that appealed to me.
Hell yeah. Is it so? You're not just doing the decks though, right? You've done tape. You're doing 3D printed stuff, right?
Yeah.
Did the skate counter?
Yeah.
Hell
The
yeah.
skate counter, which just came out. I can show.
Yeah. Let's see it. See it on cam.
Yeah,
Of
we
course.
just released this last week. This is a digital skate tracker that we've been working on for quite a while. You know,
That's
press
so
the button,
sick.
you get a letter. And there's so many things in the works like that I've been dabbling in for a long time. I was making wax for a while, but it was just freebies that I was throwing in with deck orders and things like that. But yeah, I have an obstacle that I've been working on for a long time, and I produced a couple of them, and they weren't good enough. And so no one knows this yet, but I'll put this out there. Hopefully they don't get mad at me for it.
Let's hear it.
But I'm actually working with Level Ledges now. I gave them that design, and we're doing it as a collaboration ledge
That's
now.
so fire.
So there's a whole lot of irons in the works. I think the events are something I'm really proud of. We do events really well out in Texas, and so there's a whole lot of things, not just the decks.
Hell yeah. Looking ahead, what are your goals and big plans for the future of the brand?
That's a great question. I have micro goals, like, you know, reach this amount of followers, things that won't mean anything to anyone other than myself. But and that's just more to keep myself accountable and keep myself on track. But I would say that the things that I really want to achieve in this is to work with the people that inspire me. People like Clayton, people like the Knife Crew, these guys that are a lot further along in their journeys that I want to be able to bring in and sit underneath their learning tree and just be able to take some of that in. So I would say that would be the goal, is for me to grow by being in proximity to those who are doing the things that I really respect.
I love it. Damn, well said. Any advice for someone looking to start their own fingerboard brand or become more involved in the scene?
Yeah, I would say that you need to look for the part of you that's missing in what's already out there. Like I looked for in those graphics. I wanted to see myself represented in these graphics and see the things that captivated me as an artist and as someone who wants to play around with toys, but also wants to represent them a little bit. And so look for that niche, look for that part of you that's missing and try to fill that void, because if there's a part of you that's missing and not represented in the scene, you can be that representative and bring those others to you. It's that sort of field of dreams thing, you know, if you build it, they will come.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, look for that niche and try to fill it.
I love it. Where can people find you online? And if they're interested in some of your products, where can they find your products online?
Yeah, so we're Hardly Golden Goods on Instagram. And I believe we share that same handle on TikTok, which I'm really working hard on. I actually hacked into Jake's TikTok today to steal his
selling back the password.
Yeah. But I've actually been working hard to produce content for that. And we are online at hardlygolden.com. You can check out things like the skate tracker, the decks that are dropping, and all the other fun projects that we're working on there.
Hell yeah. Give me a little bit more info on the show you talked to, or the event you talked about that you're hosting in the summer.
Sure. Yeah, so we do regular events with a coffee shop out in Austin, Texas that's called Spokesman. They've been a great host for us. We've done 4 events out there already. And we wanted to do something a little bit bigger, a little bit different. We're always trying to bring something fresh and new to these events. And so the next one that we're planning, we don't have a date out there yet for it, so follow along. We'll eventually get that to you guys as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But it's a back-to-school event, and this is a fundraiser event in partnership with an organization locally called Backpack Friends, where they help kids who don't have access to back-to-school resources like backpacks and notebooks and pencils, things like that. So we're going to do it as a fundraiser. We're going to have people bring in things to donate and get raffle tickets in response to win free stuff. But also we want to build it around that feeling that you got when you're going back to school when you were a kid, at least if you're old like you and I are.
Yeah.
So we're going to play old nostalgic cartoons on the walls, like 90s cartoons, and we're going to build a full park out of the things that I grew up skating, like when I had that 5th grade Dark Star board.
Yeah.
And so we're going to make binder ramps onto chemistry books and pencil copings and all that stuff. So we're building it all around that feeling that you used to get when you go back to school. One of the things that this coffee shop has is they have carbonated Gatorade, which I feel like we didn't have that when we were a kid, but I feel like if you could have had me design something when I was a kid, it probably would have been carbonated Gatorade.
For sure.
So yeah, we're just trying to find people that align with that, and they've been a great partner for that. So we'd love to see you out for that. Follow along for that. That series of events is called Bean Plant. That'll be probably Bean Plant number 5.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing the mini pod, Bigspin podcast, Fingerboard Con 3 weekend. Thank you so much. Hell yeah. There you go.